Bang, bang, bang. The loud knock shook the tiny bus, just as thunder roared outside. 8-year-old Lily jumped and nearly dropped her bowl of soup. "Dad, someone's outside!" she cried. David looked through the small window. Rain poured heavily, making it hard to see. Then another knock came. Bang, bang, bang. He slowly opened the door. An elderly man stood there, completely soaked. His gray hair clung to his face, and he was shivering. "Please," the old man said weakly. "My car broke down. I've been walking for hours. Could I stay here for just one night?" David froze. He looked back inside the tiny bus. There were only 4 bowls of soup. They barely had enough food for themselves. Sarah, his wife, saw the hesitation in his eyes. The old man looked exhausted. "I understand if you can't help me," he said quietly. "I just didn't know where else to go." Little Lily suddenly spoke. "Daddy, he's cold." The old man's eyes filled with tears. David took a deep breath. "Come inside." The stranger looked shocked. "Are you sure?" "Yes," David replied. "No one should stay outside on a night like this." The old man stepped into the bus. If you believe kindness can change lives, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and comment. Kindness still exists. The tiny bus was simple. A small table sat in the middle. There were bunk beds on one side, and a little kitchen on the other. The old man looked around in surprise. "You all live here?" Sarah smiled. "We do." 12-year-old Ben grinned. "It's small, but we love it." Lily nodded excitedly. "It's the happiest bus in the world." Everyone laughed. The old man slowly smiled. He had not heard laughter like that in years. Sarah poured the remaining soup into another bowl. The old man immediately shook his head. "No, please, that's your dinner." "We'll share," she said. "But there isn't enough." "There is enough if we eat together," David replied. The old man's hands trembled as he accepted the bowl. He looked at the family. "You don't even know me." David shrugged. "Sometimes people need help." The old man lowered his head. For a moment, he could not speak. As they ate, Lily asked, "Grandpa, what's your name?" The old man smiled. "My name is Harrison. Do you have children?" she asked. His smile disappeared. "I do." "Where are they?" He stared at his soup. "They're busy." Sarah quickly changed the subject. "So, how did your car break down?" "I was driving alone when it stopped." "Alone?" Ben asked. "Yes. At your age?" The old man laughed. "I suppose I enjoy being by myself." Lily frowned. Being alone sounds sad. The words hit him hard. For years he had lived in a giant mansion with dozens of servants. Yet he had never felt more alone. A few minutes later, David brought out an old deck of cards. Family game time. The old man looked confused. "You play games every night?" "Every single night," Sarah replied. "Even living in a bus?" David smiled. "Especially because we live in a bus." The old man watched them play. They laughed at silly mistakes. They teased one another. They celebrated every tiny victory. The tiny bus felt warmer than the enormous mansion he called home. Finally, he asked, "How did you end up living here?" Silence filled the room. David smiled sadly. "I lost my job 3 years ago." Sarah held his hand. "We couldn't pay our bills. We lost our house," David continued. Ben lowered his eyes. "It was scary. We had nowhere to go," Sarah said. "So I bought this old bus, with our last savings." "And Dad fixed everything himself," Lily said proudly. The old man looked amazed. "Weren't you angry?" David smiled. "At first, yes. Then I realized something." "What?" "We lost our house, but we still had each other." The old man stared at him. No one had ever spoken about family that way around him. His entire life had been about money, business, power, success. But sitting inside that tiny bus, he suddenly felt poor. If this story is touching your heart, hit the like button and comment. Family comes first. The storm grew stronger outside. The old man finally spoke. I used to believe money could buy happiness. And now, Sarah asked. He looked around the bus. Now I'm not so sure. Lily yawned. You can sleep in my bed tonight. The old man looked surprised. But where will you sleep? I'll sleep beside Mommy. Tears filled his eyes. Nobody had shown him such kindness in years. Thank you, he whispered. That night, long after everyone fell asleep, Harrison remained awake. He listened to the sound of rain hitting the bus. He looked at the sleeping family. For the first time in a very long time, he felt peace. The next morning, a loud noise woke everyone. Several black luxury cars stopped outside the bus. Ben rushed to the window. Dad, there are fancy cars outside. Men in expensive suits stepped out. One of them hurried to the door. The moment he saw Harrison, he looked relieved. Mr. Harrison, we've been looking for you all night. The family froze. Mr. Harrison? The old man slowly stood. You found me. Sir, your children were worried sick. The family stared at him. David looked confused. Who exactly are you? The old man sighed. I suppose I owe you an explanation. One of the men spoke. This is Harrison Brooks. David's eyes widened. The billionaire? The man nodded. The owner of Brooks Industries. Sarah nearly dropped her cup. Everyone in the country knew his name. Lily looked up at him. You're rich? The old man smiled. Very rich. The little girl blinked. Then why were you walking in the rain? Everyone laughed. Then his face became serious. Because I was lonely. The tiny bus became quiet. I spent my entire life chasing money. He looked down. I built companies, bought houses, collected expensive cars. Then his voice broke. And somewhere along the way, I lost my family. What happened? David asked. My children only call when they need money. He sighed. My friends care more about my wealth than me. He looked around the bus. But last night, tears formed in his eyes. You gave me something I haven't felt in years. What? Sarah asked softly. A family. Silence filled the bus. Then he turned to David. You welcomed a stranger into your home when you had almost nothing. He looked at Sarah. You shared your food. He looked at Lily. And you gave me your bed. Tears rolled down his cheeks. You are richer than I have ever been. Nobody knew what to say. Then Harrison smiled. I would like to change your lives, if you'll allow me. The family stared at him. I own several companies. He looked at David. I need someone honest to manage one of my businesses. David's mouth fell open. You mean a job? Yes. He turned to Sarah. I would also like to pay for your children's education. Sarah covered her mouth. Then he smiled. And one more thing. He handed David a set of keys. What are these? David asked. A house. Nobody moved. A small house. Not far from here. Sarah burst into tears. David's hands shook. You can't be serious. I am. Lily suddenly ran and hugged him. Does this mean you'll visit us? Harrison laughed through his tears. If you'll have me. Of course, she shouted. Months later, the family moved into their new home. But one thing never changed. Every Friday night, they gathered around the dinner table, and there was always one extra chair. It belonged to Harrison. Because the lonely billionaire had finally found the family he never knew he needed, and he learned that the smallest act of kindness can completely change a person's life. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and comment, Family is the real treasure. See you in the next story.